Families, creating a lifetime of memories. Sadly, some families are denied these important moments due to the sad practice of alienation. These are families divided.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Families Divided TV. Tonight, we will have with us Morin, and she's going to discuss 5 factors contributing to the divide between parent and adult-child perspectives of estrangement. This presentation is going to underscore the different perspectives on both sides using research and comparisons. The factors include the complicated layers of perspectives, the parent-child evaluation scale, sociological changes, mental health and therapy, and victimization. Strategies for bridging the gap as a culture will also be provided in this episode. I know for us personally, this has been a great episode, and I think it's going to help you as well, so pay close attention. Before Marie comes, I want to remind you again of our fall conference, October 5th and 6th. You ask, we deliver. Please note if you can't come to the conference, the 2-day conference on Saturday and Sunday during our live broadcast, then perhaps you can go ahead and register now and view it. You have after the conference, you'll have between the following Monday to the end of December 31st, 2024, to view it. So that will give you an opportunity at your leisure to check on it, excuse me. But please go ahead and register now. You'll need to be registered prior to the conference, and registration is not going to be lasting much longer. So there is a video here that'll tell you more about the conference, and I do hope you'll join us. It's going to be great. It is not going to be on YouTube. It is strictly through Zoom. So we're going to be right back in just a moment with Marie Morin. Hello, everyone. I'm Elaine Cobb. I'm founder and president of Family Access Fighting for Children's Rights. I'm also the host and executive producer of Families Divided TV. I wanted to tell you about our upcoming fall conference, which is a virtual international conference, October 5th and 6th. It's titled, You Asked, We Deliver. I had sent an email blast out so you guys could send in what you wanted us to talk about in the different topics. Usually we have just one topic. However, this time we've chosen as our last conference to have all different types of topics that you guys have chosen and that mean a lot to you and we consider hot topics. So I wanted to just explain a little bit of them to you really quickly. We're going to have Dr. Edward Crook as one of our keynote speakers. He's going to be sharing with us his findings and his paper on grandparents who have never seen their grandchildren. He did a study on this for almost 1.5 years, and we asked him to do it, and he kindly said he would, and we were very grateful, and we're really excited about hearing what he's got to say. This study that he has done is going to be able to be used in courts, in the legislature, in trying to get laws. We've never been regarded, as you all know, I am an alienated grandmom who's never seen your granddaughter dare, and they're, her parents, Brian and Kate, have not allowed Brian's side of his family to see him, to spend time with her. We've never met her. So we're really excited about this because when you go to the legislature, all of the bills state in every state that you need to have had time and a relationship with the child, whereas many of us in the world have never had that opportunity. So this is a huge breakthrough, and we're very excited. So you want to be tuned for that. Our other keynote speaker will be Bill Eddy, and he's going to be speaking to us on court trends, the trouble with letting the children decide. That's a huge topic, and he's it's knowing that it's Bill Eddy, it's going to be huge. So we're really looking forward to that. Dr. Joshua Coleman is also going to be one of our presenters, and he's going to be speaking to us on the do's and don'ts on reaching out to your alienated and estranged children. We all know Dr. Coleman gives us great advice and insight, so this will be a wonderful presentation. Dr. Sue Kornbluth will be speaking to us on managing personality disordered co-parents who alienate their children. Co-parenting is very difficult, and in many cases, it doesn't work, sadly. But Dr. Sue Kornbluth is going to give you some pointers on this, which will be very important and very effective. So you want to be able to be a part of that. And Dr. Mary Alvarez has got a very interesting topic, which we're really looking forward to. It's called Parental Alienation, Toxic Stress, and Your Child's Brain. This, to me, is so important because we often wonder what our children are going through as they're with the alienated parent and with the alienator, and also what it's doing to their brain and what are they thinking. So this is going to be very important. So I hope you'll be a part of that too. Chris Turner is going to be speaking to us about trusting and understanding agents of the court in high conflict cases. And that will be all the different professionals. She's going to be hitting on all of them that work in the court system. So that's going to be huge. Dr. Kelly Baker is going to be speaking to us on a topic that we've never covered, which is about teens. We've never talked about teens ever in any of our presentations, and that hit me. I'm like, oh my, we really need to get this out there. So she's going to be speaking to us about therapeutic interventions for parent-child contact problems with teens. So that'll be really great. Melanie Gill, who has done some fantastic presentations for us in recent weeks, she's going to be speaking to us on pathological liars, and her title is called Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire. And you know, if it's Melanie, it's going to be great. Dr. Kathleen Ray is going to be speaking to us on understanding the realities of a reunification program, dispelling common misconceptions. This is going to be very important that we get to see this presentation. There's so much false information being taken around out there, fake news, if you will, and lies also. So this will be great coming from Dr. Ray, and you need all your facts, and facts is what we need. So stay tuned for that. Attorney Chris Smith, who is one of our best attorneys, who is really, really great. He really cares about families. He's going to be speaking to us about secrets to litigating parental alienation allegations. And that'll be really good. And Randy Fine, who does some great work on narcissism, she's going to be speaking on confronting the mirror. Do narcissists face their own reflections? That's a huge question. And Dean Tong is going to also be really bringing us a strong topic: false allegations of abuse, navigating the three-ring circus. That's going to be really good from our forensic professional, Dean Tong. So that's going to be great. Now, I want to let you know, early bird special is now. You're getting, a great discount. This is a 2-day event, and you can register now. Please go to the link that's included here in the comments in our YouTube video, and it will take you to the webpage and also where you can register. I do hope you'll be with us for our very last conference. We are really looking forward to it. We have got some powerful presentations. And last but not least, I want to tell you, I almost forgot, but it's so important. We're having a 3-person panel on the Cadence Law. Cadence Law is destroying families. And we want to talk to you about the legislator and how we can go around that and do other laws. We're going to have on that powerful panel Dr. Lynn Steinberg, Rabbi Yaakov Achabam, and also we're going to have with us Robert Garza, who's traveling the country doing lots of work. These 3 know much about Cadence Law and about family law in the legislature. You want to be there for this. Our families are at stake, and it's hugely important. So don't miss this panel discussion. Okay, guys, so I've left you with huge presentations and much excitement there. We're really excited about it. We're also going to have on Sunday night a time where you can have a support meeting where you can talk about your case and your different things, your testimonies, and we're going to enjoy doing that. And also on Saturday night, which has been really great every time we've ever done it, we're having from 9 p.m. till 7 a.m. One-on-one talk, what I call lovingly Chatty Cathy, because we have people that stay on there practically all night long and just talk and share their hearts and give each other suggestions on what to do. And it's a great time. So, okay, I've said enough. And if you have questions, please email me at familyaccess@aol.com. Happy to answer the questions. And I really, really look forward to seeing you October 5th and October 6th. Don't miss it.
Divorce and co-parenting are a major life interruption for families, especially the kids, but also for parents and grandparents. And it's even worse in blame-filled, high-conflict cases. When parents engage in alienation by turning the kids against the other parent or grandparents, kids suffer. They're denied the opportunity to build the 4 big skills necessary for future resilience. New Ways for Families online class can help. Parents learn to use our popular BIF and EAR skills to calm the conflict and stop the hostile emails and texts. And we even have a class for kids and parents to learn together. Research shows a 75% improvement in joint parental decision-making after this course is taken, plus overall improvements for kids' well-being. Don't wait to make this affordable investment in your children's future and improve your well-being too. Start learning new ways for your family today at conflictplaybook.com.
Hello. Today's topic is understanding estrangement, the great divide between parents and adult children. So this topic is something close to my heart because I talk to a lot of adult children and a lot of parents, and it always hurts me that we are so divided. So I wanted to dig into this topic for you and for myself also, so that I can understand better and we all can understand better, and hopefully improve the landscape of what we are experiencing right now. So we're going to learn 5 factors that contribute to the divide between parents and adult children. And it's going to be about perspectives. And we're going to underscore how, through research and these perspective comparisons, impact what we're going through and what we're experiencing. And we're going to talk about the layers of perspectives, something called the parent-child evaluation scale. We're going to speak about the sociological changes, mental health and therapy, and victimization. And then we're going to talk about strategies for bridging the gap as a culture. So it's a complicated thing, estrangement, and each person's experience is unique. And it's very challenging to navigate emotionally. And I know if you're here now, I'm sure you have a lot of emotional stuff going on. Maybe you're not thinking about it as much and you're feeling it more. So we're going to go into the prefrontal cortex. We're going to learn a lot so that it can help us with what we're feeling. But often this estranged parties, what happens is the divide goes on because we each want to figure out what's going on, and we also like to blame and find reasons. So we're going to go into that a little bit further. And especially for those of us in our 60s and our developmental stage, it adds a significant discomfort. We could be feeling anxiety. And naturally, if you have been in this situation for some time, you are familiar with grief, and it's extremely difficult to understand and cope with this. But the goal here is to help us understand what the research is saying, and we're going to gain insight into hopefully the adult child. And if there are adult children here, and many of those that I speak to are in their 50s, so I hope that you're here and maybe we'll gain insight into the other side. So why don't we look through this also, understanding our responsibility as individuals. What I see often is this kind of dynamic of a lot of expressed emotion. And some of the first emotions that I see as a therapist with the people that I help is anger. It's the one that's up front, if you know what I mean. And anger is something I think we're all familiar with, of course. And it's really something that's pointing to our pain, what's happened to us. And then maybe after that pain, we're feeling this level of like, holy moly, what's going on? I am in such distress and I feel extremely alone and maybe somewhat isolated. So the 5 factors we're going to talk about that will help us understand in all of what we're kind of express. The first one is going to be layers. So what do I mean by layers? So family estrangement, according to one of the people that I read a lot of her information, she's a social worker and a researcher from Australia. Her name is Kylie Igalias. And where is her book? Because I always have it on my desk. It's Family Estrangement, A Matter of Perspective. And here's what she says. Family estrangement, a concept similar to emotional cutoff in the Bowen family systems theory, is the unsatisfactory physical or emotional distancing between at least 2 family members. It's attributed to a number of biological, psychological, social, and structural factors affecting the family, including attachment disorders, incompatible values and beliefs, unfulfilled expectations, critical life events and transitions, parental alienation, ineffective communication patterns. So there's the layers. It could be many of those things, a few of those things, but all of those that I just mentioned that Kylie Agalia are the layers. And the interesting thing about these layers is not one person who goes through this has the same. We all have something different. So my pet peeve is this broad brush that we paint each other and all of us, whether we're an adult child or a parent, that, oh my gosh, their experience is just that, or this is, every parent is abusive, or every adult child is entitled. I think that that is just the broad brush of perspectives that gets us into trouble. All right, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go on to the next one. So the perspectives also within these layers is the origin of where we're hurt. So naturally, parents and adult children, but the focus here, I believe, is to help parents understand adult children. I think that mostly parents are going to be watching this. But if you're an adult child, I'm hoping you're here and you'll get this as well. So we feel abandoned, wronged, betrayed, grief-stricken, and we don't expect as parents that our adult kids are going to do this, that they'll abandon us. And every parent, adult child has its own layers, like we spoke about. And the child grows up within this microcosm, within this family, and parents naturally, of course, we're responsible. We're supposed to be parenting, but we're not perfect. We are imperfect, and we do things that we could have done better naturally. And I love this saying by Joshua Coleman, which adult kids usually get like up in arms and they're so upset about. We did the best we could with the resources we had at that time. That's what we do. We do the best we can. But what happens for adult children is that they gain a perspective, and it goes through this lens of a parent evaluation scale. Whoops. And parents become scrutinized because of this. So the difference between who caused or influenced are remarkable. So if I talk to parents, they're saying, well, it was parental alienation. It was the divorce. It was, oh, my kids, they're entitled. It was a terrible relationship. There was sibling jealousy and favoritism. And adult children are going to say things like, well, it really had to do with my parents. My parent was messed up. They were not attentive. They abandoned me emotionally. They were narcissistic. So let's talk about this parent child evaluation scale. So this again was developed, which is spoken about in Kylie Agalias's book. And what she talks about is that what adult children do is base their evaluation of their parent on the amount of how well they did in taking care of their welfare. The parent gets a low relational evaluation if there's a sense that value, what they got, was less than what they expected. Okay. And so if the adult child perceived a low relational assessment, meaning they didn't feel protected or supported, that's the way that they will see their parent. Okay. So naturally, every child deserves safety, security, and positive attention. But I wanted to draw attention to this interesting fact of the parent-child evaluation scale, that the lens of responsibility for the parent is placed on this idea that if the adult child, when they were a kid, did not feel like the parent supported them in their welfare, then they get this low evaluation scale, and that participates in how they see the parent, and then this idea of cutting off. So they may feel exploited, manipulated, rejected, or not accepted. And the adult child will review their relational value to their parent and decide how much they feel the parent had their best interest in mind. And naturally, if it's very low, they will cut off. So what about the sociological changes in culture? What are the differences right now? So families viewed differently today than it was many years ago. Obviously, families were historically expected to stay connected thick and thin, right? No matter what, that you were going to be in it for the long haul. Although estrangement, contrary to what a lot of people believe, that this is a new phenomenon, it is not. It's just that we're talking about it now. In fact, interestingly, my mom was estranged from her sister. We never used the term, and I hadn't realized until not too long ago that was the case. It was an estrangement, or it's just that due to the stigma, I believe people were less likely to talk about it. And plus, with the advent of all of this information, we can go on a phone and in less than 5 seconds get all the information we need. So I think that has a lot to do with how widespread information of estrangement is. But anyway, so the second point is, what about guilt and obligation? Past generations would feel guilty if they weren't involved, and then they They understood, hey, there's an obligation. I have got to stay involved with my family. And so they wouldn't think of leaving. Okay. Some did, there were those that did, but for the most part, that was the overall thought about staying in a family. And in our current culture climate, we have this idea that, hey, if it doesn't feel good, I'm not going to be in a relationship. So it's okay. I am not caught up in this idea of being obligated. No such thing as thick or thin. If it's not good for me, I am out. And it's not always beneficial for adult children to remain close to their families. And here's why. If there is abuse, and there are situations where adult children have been abused, they're going back into a situation as though they'd have to receive more abuse and maltreatment is definitely not safe for them. And so that is the best thing for them to do. What about mental health and therapy? We hear a lot about that. Well, it's the adult child. They're the ones that are ill. And because of that, we have to now look at it in terms of just that thing. And adult child has mental illness, and the parent is basically okay, everything is okay. And I would venture to say, yep, if there is mental illness with even one, and we don't know all the time, sometimes people go untreated with things like what everybody has experienced, depression and anxiety. But what if it's a severe mental illness? This can really impact whether a family can remain intact. Things like schizophrenia, certain personality disorders, bipolar disorder. These are very, very strenuous on the fabric of a family, and it really makes it difficult for them to stay together. But here's something that we can look at. When someone goes to therapy, they go because they're distressed, right? We don't go to therapy because we're feeling great. We're going because we want someone to help us get in our corner, figure things out, all right? So I hear a lot about parents saying things like, well, it was my kid's therapist. And while there may be a percentage of therapists who are promoting this idea of it doesn't feel good, go away, and encouraging that, I'm not convinced that that's entirely the case. I think the adult child or the parent has a lot to do with their decision. After all, they're the person. They're going to make the decision that's best for them. Okay, so often the work of therapy teaches those that go coping skills. Let's deal with this. What are you upset about? That's a good strategy when going to therapy. And if the focus of the distress is about a specific relationship, it's normal that the therapist talks about it, right? And the perspective given from the client alone is really just the client. And therapists usually know this is just their perspective. They understand that it's not. And as I said a moment ago, I'm sure that there are those that may be biased and are just looking at it without the idea, oh, this is just one side of the story. And the well-being of the client is the primary objective of the therapist. So that's how it works. You go to therapy and the therapist is like, okay, you are my person that I am focused on. I'm going to make sure as much as I can to help you to be okay. And the therapist can support or encourage clients to remove themselves from relationships. They can do that. And my point is that I think that there are a majority of therapists who really truly do care to honor the code of ethics, that they're going to be unbiased and they're going to look at things in not a way to suggest or tell someone what to do. Like that is definitely not okay in therapy. And mental health care focuses on the individual and not the family system. So that's something that when parents are looking, oh, it was the therapist. Well, it's the focus of individual therapy. That's why when you try and reconcile and you say, and your adult child is willing, or if you're the adult child and your parent is willing, and you say, hey, let's go to a family therapist, someone that's unbiased, that hasn't been treating either of them, that's a really good thing. All right. So what about this victimization and how do we learn from this idea of victimization? So here's, as I said in the beginning, these two sides, a lot of them are, each side is kind of looking like, hey, this happened to me. My family member cut me off and now I'm completely beside myself because they did this to me. And yes, in some cases, maybe many cases, I don't have a percentage. There are times when someone has been a victim. But what about staying in the victim role eternally? Let's talk about that, because that's where the danger is. If someone hurts me and I get into a car accident and I'm the victim of a bad driving, I don't want to carry that story with me that I have been harmed by a bad driver. I want to move forward. I want to come out from under victimhood and say, you know what, I have other things in life that are important to me that I value. Family members naturally experience great distress, and this is a really difficult thing to do, to come out from that this happened to me, they did this to me mentality. So what about the role of childhood trauma, abuse, neglect, and betrayal? Well, these are the three main things that adult children say. As I said earlier, if you talk to adult children, the main one is abuse. The next one is betrayal, and the third is poor parenting. And there's a fine line between poor parenting and abuse. You can kind of like somewhat mesh them together. There's this consistent query that we're having, like, so who is to blame? Or is every adult child, have they all been abused? Well, according to many of them, and I'll tell you, I get a lot of adult children that come onto my YouTube channel and comment on my videos. All adult children that have been estranged have been abused. This is kind of the comment, that the note that I get often. And it's a tough one because they truly believe that they have been abused. Whether all of them have been abused, I don't know. I mean, can we ever know the truth about that if they have all been abused? We know that there are many, many contributors. There are many layers to why someone cuts off. Now what? What do we do with all this information? Well, I wanted to just see if you, while you're listening, see if you can identify who is saying this. Who is the authority when it comes to my childhood? Is it the parent or the adult child? Don't diagnose me unless you are a professional who knows me. Do you or don't you owe your parents anything? Well, which is it? Do you owe them anything? And who believes that you are owed something? Do parents believe that an adult child owes them something? It's a privilege to be a grandparent, not a right. You as a parent should emphasize with how I feel, and it is wrong not to. Of course, that's the adult child. I don't care if you remove me from my well. This will not motivate me to want to be around you. It's not my responsibility to make sure you feel love loved and valued. If you were traumatized and hurt as a child, it's not my responsibility to make sure that you are okay. And we hear a lot about adult children. Naturally, those were the adult child's comments and how they feel and the things that they say. There's a book that if you really want to understand what a lot of these adult children are reading and looking at is adult children of emotionally immature parents. You get a lot of insight in there and how they see parents. So here's the other side. I'm your parent. I know what happened to you when you grew up. Your version of the past is definitely inaccurate. Just because you think I'm a narcissist doesn't mean I am. You do owe me as a parent. If you let your spouse dictate that you can't see me, you have a lousy marriage. And what's wrong with you? What about resolving conflict instead of running from it? So what I was thinking, now what? Now what? How do we do this better? So my thinking from what I've learned from many of these adult children and these parents and the research that I can't seem to get enough of, and it circles to this very thing, the divide, how differently we see it, and how difficult it is as someone who tries to provide information, whoever we are, to stay imbalanced. I've been getting quite a few families now and doing reconciliation work with them. And it's interesting how hard it is to get both of them to see the other side. So I found a book recently and I was hoping to talk about this for a minute. And it's the book Whole Brain Living by Jill Bolte Taylor. It's a great Audible book, by the way, but she is a magnificent author she's a neuroscientist who had a stroke. She wrote this book to kind of help people understand how the brain works. One of the chapters in the book outlines this difference of how things have changed generationally. And I believe that her description, how we have been impacted by the years going on and whether we are family oriented and whether we are more about being a unit rather than these isolated individuals that we're seeing right now with technology everywhere, and how you can't take a moment without having to check your phone, and how the generations today, the earlier generations, the millennials and moving forward, the alphas, they are about this whole thing, the technology, less about the family unit, and how much that has impacted what is going on in our families. And so in reading this book and in answering this question, now what can we do? I think part of it is to go back to our roots of who we are as individuals and what's important to us. I haven't met a parent yet who isn't focused on wanting more in their family, wanting to see their kids more, wanting to love their kids, enjoy their grandchildren, be present for them, and have this, and I think it's a realistic desire to want these things, to want family, and to want this extended closeness. And there are plenty of families that are able to do that. How do we get there? I think by understanding each other, learning how to love, what does that mean? And empathize and have compassion, even when these adult children are angry. And oh, do I get a lot of angry adult children emailing me and writing their comments or posting on my writing on different areas. A lot of anger. Can we love through that? Can we take the higher road of being there and this family orientation? And this isn't this what the older generations were focused, before the boomers actually, and this is what Jill Bolte Taylor speaks about, that at that point, before the boomer generation, there was this larger focus on it's all about the family. Can we get back to that? Can we get back to feeling as a society? And where does it start? Well, it starts with those of us who take the time to sit and listen to such things, to look to learn more about each other, in an attempt to find a place where we can be more compassionate and loving, and maybe change the tide for future, and maybe learn how to bridge this gap of divide, and maybe rather than it being such a divide, we're actually listening and hearing. So there's some resources on this. Most of the ones that I've used for this, with the exception of the book Whole Brain Living, which you can find on my website, morinholistictherapy.com. It's one of the resources. I hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have any questions, you can email me directly.
Next week on Families Divided TV, Dr. Sue Kornbluth shares the 3 most important steps you need to know to reconnect with your children and grandchildren.